Chapter 13. Lost Old Man. Cal was still happily cuddling Mia after another night with the twins in their own room when he heard, "Can we come in now?" from the control room door. "Yes," Mia said, while he was thinking a gentle way of saying no. "We want a little cuddle too," Kira said, both girls scrambling to get on the bed with them. "We were thinking we wanted to go to Rigel 12 and see what pirate things we can find for our comms project," Kira said. The pair now squirmed between Cal and Mia. "And there we'd be close to pick up the next van. Even though we have no credits, I want to price the cooking things too," Cal said. "And you want me to agree," Mia said. "What if I'm still too tired?" "Too much special cuddling," Kira said, grinning. "Not enough," Cal said. "We can rest again at that warehouse there." "We can go and tell the others we're going," Kira said. "That would give you more time alone." "Go, but make sure you take at least an hour," Mia said. "And add an empty pod," Cal said. The twins raced off laughing, leaving Mia to wrap her arms around him again. The warehouse at Rigel 12 was as busy as always, and since this was only to be a pricing trip, it should be easy. The twins were searching for terminals they could modify, as well as things they called data cubes. Cal was content to follow and watch, but after 3 hours of watching he was losing the will to look anymore. The twins had narrowed down the suppliers to the main one they preferred, and Cal decided to take some risks. If we wanted some serious changes to these terminals, would it be possible to get some made specially? The salesman was not put off at all, warning it would need an order of at least 1,000 units and would take 5 or 6 weeks to complete. "Payment. Can you accept anything other than credits?" Cal said softly. "In advance," he added. The salesman looked all around before nodding and saying in a normal tone, "Our factory uses a lot of power pellets, sir. The K02 style would be best. And 1,000 modified terminals would equal 3 for 1, sir. 3,000 would be the legal imperial number." "Maybe 3.5 then," Cal said, "or maybe 4 including the cube thing." The server cube specified would be more than all the terminals. It's big enough to power the whole galaxy, and enough memory crystals to store the contents of the whole web. Cal caught the twins grinning in the background. "So maybe 8. With that memory, 10 would be closer," the salesman said, nodding. "Maybe we should keep your details for our future order then." The salesman was off grabbing a business card and adding a handwritten number to the back. "Chen. My personal contact," he said, emphasizing the personal. "And the freight can always be listed as maybe game consoles." Cal nodded and the twins stood by grinning even more. Now it was Cal's turn to shop, and it was items for the cooking business next. He was looking for ways of keeping prepared food, something like freezing. There was a freezer in the liner kitchen, but then they would need freezers in the shop and maybe vans. At least he had something to start with. Freezers were easy to find, and there were portable ones that would easily fit in the vans too, but one salesman had a different product. "1,000,000 times better, sir, that is unless you are certain you want to stay with last century technology." "Salesman," Cal muttered under his breath while the twins came even closer, their eyes out wide. "Look at this sample, sir, and ladies. This packet is 1 whole year old and still in perfect condition. Look closely. See through the cover. Had it gone bad, the whole cover would have turned from clear to bright red to warn you. Completely foolproof. Allow me to show you how simple the process is." The sample container in Cal's hands was a round bowl, the contents covered with a clear membrane stretched taut over its top. The mixed vegetables inside did look good though. "Now see this machine. So simple anyone can use it. Your filled bowl is placed here, and automatically it is fed into the purifier, and then the cover applied. Watch it now. See how quick. And it comes out cool enough to handle it immediately." The women were eagerly inspecting the now covered empty bowl. 3 different heights for 3 different amounts. "This sample is the 1-person meal size." "Sterilization?" Cal asked. "Super sterilization. Not like it used to be, sir. No change in taste or flavor. The next big thing in food preservation. How much? A man that knows what he wants. That's my sort of customer. You won't regret it, sir. This machine will revolutionize your business. The machine cost. This complete machine and a starter kit all a mere 26,000, sir. So cheap no business can be without one. Consumables. Bowls, cover membrane and labels. In bulk that works to 1/10 of a credit per finished bowl. And no need for a freezer. Normal handling. Even better if you have a produce conditioner, but if you are selling within a few days, nothing will worry it. I like it, Mia said. Is payment other than credits possible? Cal said, his eyes directly in the salesman's. A premium would be involved. A premium and a large order of consumables. Something that is always useful to have is K02. Indeed. If a man had some K02, how many would he pack in his case to fully set up his business with your product? If a man had say 40, I'm sure he would leave with a good deal. I'm not sure you have these, but I'm also looking for a larger pot for the cooking. If Sir managed to find another 10, I'm sure he would leave with a suitable kettle to cook enough produce to keep one of these machines working well. I feel we can do business, Cal said. We'll return in a week or so. Now I have 100 credits left in my terminal to spend on baby things, Cal said when they were walking away. I'm sure you women will know what we need. Things for that new baby we'll be having in the liner in a few weeks. We know, Kira said. Carry basket, blankets, Izzy's, booties. Monster printed nappies, Cal suggested. At least the women were happy looking. Next it was a meal at the showroom before picking up the pod and loading the Stallion. Then it was women exploring their purchases while they waited for the message to say the next van was ready to pick up. Back at their Grand Bazaar base, van number 5 unloaded and a difficult decision for the twins. What next to unload? Pod or juice bar? Baby things won, and the shop was soon littered with them along with women oohing and ahhing as they checked every single item. And from what Cal could hear, most of the women were deciding they all needed to have another baby to try the goods. It was left to Cal and Orbis, with help of a lifter, to move the new juice bar into the shop. Once they lugged it into what might be its position, they found they could not use it until it had a water line connected, so no one could test it yet. Need special fittings, Orbis pronounced. Maybe tomorrow. Trip to town. Cal said. Orbis nodded. Could send girls. They like driving the runabout. Orbis was laughing and a group of women were looking at what they missed. Was saying we need parts from town, Cal said. Runabout in the morning. We'll go now, Kira called out. We want to get it working to try the juice. We haven't crashed yet. Kira added. I'll go and supervise, Mia said. At least I've got a license. Nothing else to do. Orbis told exactly the connection he wanted, and the 3 women raced away, a group of children ready to go for the trip too. Got information about private terminals, Cal said when they had some quiet. Good walk outside, Orbis said, nodding to the main entrance, Cal following. Twins found a place to buy special modified terminals and a thing called a cube. Need to buy a minimum of 1,000 of them, but they'll pay with K02 power pellets, whatever they are. Tiny power rods, Orbis said. Never made them, and don't know where to suggest yet. Maybe the professor would know. It's getting close to the time he was leaving the university. Message him, lad. You know I can't. Cal did send a quick message to Professor Frank, and got an immediate reply. Out of office. Unknown return. Something's wrong, Orbis said. Cal thought the same. Would you take me to find him? Soon as the women get back. Of course you can come. Your woman too. Maybe not keen on travel, but I'll go and tell her what's happening. Orbis was wrong, Lou was keen to go on the trip, so the pair were waiting in the shop for the return of the women. At least Cal stacked some fruit in the ship, there was no way to know how long this trip would take. The women in the runabout returned much quicker than Cal expected, the twins running ahead with something held up. "Urgent trip," Cal said. "The professor." The fitting in their hand quickly dropped near the juice bar, and everyone making a run for the Stallion. Cal showed the message and even Mia was keen to get moving immediately. 2 hours in ether space, she called. "Hatches locked and passengers sitting. Blast off when ready." Looking like mid-morning when they landed in the university ground. Nothing other than a small runabout on the field. "Twins and me to find the man," Cal said. "Dressed to look like we might be students." He tried messaging again while he waited, but only got the same automatic reply. "We'll keep guard for now," Orbis said. As they left the ship, the twins didn't look much like students, then he didn't look like a professor either. Maybe they would pass as couriers or cleaners. The twins pacing quickly in the lead, at least they seemed to know where they were going. Through manicured park grounds and then into a 3-storied long building. No one obvious. As they walked along a corridor, Cal was sure they were passing a line of small apartments. Then it was upstairs, and along a second corridor. "That's his home," Kira said, pointing to the door with number 86 on it. "We know for sure," Kira added. Cal knocked. Nothing. He knocked again. Silence. "We could ask the guard," Kira said, looking up and down the still empty corridor. "You lead," Cal said, and the twins spun around and set off back the way they'd come. Cal gave the door lever a quick turn, just in case, but it was definitely locked. Back outside, and walking further into the complex, the twins stopped a man walking past, but he just shook his head. "Back to the ship," Cal said. "New plan." The twins looked like they were ready to complain, but changed their mind, and the three got back to the ship. "This job needs someone that has more front than me," Cal said. "And maybe he should take his woman as cover." "But he doesn't know the grounds," Kira said. "No one at the university know him," Cal said. "They'll just think he's a lost old man looking for a friend to set up a meeting to tell stories and show off his woman." "I'm not that old," Orbis said smiling. "But I can tell a mean story or two." With Orbis and Lou walking away, there was nothing to do but wait. The twins used the time exploring anything they could find about Professor Frank on the galaxy-wide web, but there were only some technical papers and nothing current. Cal eventually laid down to try to rest. He was certainly tired enough, but there was no possibility of sleeping with the three women nattering. A message on the terminal saying the 6th van was ready to pick up did nothing soothing either. "People coming," Kyra yelled, looking up at a scanner view of the landing field. There was a run to the hatch, Cal being last to see two people pushing someone in a wheelchair toward them. "I'll open the freight ramp," he said, but he was almost trampled by the twins in their rush to be first to do it. Then the pair were on the ground, running, while Cal and Mia stayed on the freight deck watching. No one talking until everyone was up the ramp and standing on the deck. Professor Frank was sitting in the wheelchair, covered with a rug and looking like he was not long for the world. "Medic," Orbis said, the first words anyone had said. "Do whatever it takes." Mia and the girls completely took over, leaving Cal to get the story. "I pretended I was looking for my old school friend and didn't know where to go," Orbis started. "I played a silly old man to perfection, but no one wanted to tell me where Frank was. Lou here said she was my nurse and that helped. Then we were told that he might be in the university medical center, and we found him alone in a distant room, looking like he was about to die. One of the Real nurses said he had some incurable disease, and Lou asked if we could take him for a last walk outside. That nurse even got this chair thing for us, but it was my woman who was the real star. Maybe I should marry her before someone else gets her." Cal joined those in the medic room looking at the patient. The professor did indeed look close to death, his skin so white and his body flabby and unmoving. The automedic was doing plenty of beeping, and all eyes were on the screen. "The best I can make it out, it seems like some sort of poison," Mia said carefully. "But the medic is offering no cures." "His heart is so weak," Kyra said. His circulation too, Kira said. He can't die, can he? I don't know, Mia said. Who'd poison a man like him? Accident, Orbis said. Convenient accident, Cal said, moving back to leave more space in the cramped room for others that might know more. The medic is offering to do something to clean his blood, but it's only saying 1% possibility of healing. Mia's information was not much of a help. Try it, Kira yelled. He can't die. Cal walked unthinking back to the control room, sitting on the bed. So much of his future plans depended on the professor helping them. So much of his information would be invaluable to them. That was why people in power would want the man dead. Cal had known the imperial regime would not let him advance too far, but he hadn't expected their blocking him in this way. He'd never imagined they would use other people's lives to control him, and for the first time he felt like there was no hope. He wasn't willing to put other people's lives on the line for his own dreams. But that's wrong, he thought. I put my women's lives on the line every time we go into space. But they know the risk and accept it. The professor didn't. And the people in their base. He held their lives in his hands too. If they ever left, no one else would ever employ them. Without him, their lives were over, and yet they willingly lined up to join. There was noise around and Cal looked up to see Orbis coming close. No change, he reported. You think this is deliberate? Cal asked. Likely, I guess. I'm sure people knew he was connected to you. So it will keep happening then. One reason you needed that base set up first. You knew. He knew too. He knew the risks. I'm not sure I want that sort of risk. Too late. It's all our lives now. And I'm sure you suspected. But seeing is different. Makes you want to go out and lash out at them, doesn't it? Smash their imperial capital to dust. We're not big enough yet. All you can do is keep alert and keep building up in the background. Cal's head down as he thought. There was a part of him that said it was time to slow down and keep a low profile, but that part was not very big. I need to find a smart way to fight back. A way that would hurt no one other than those who really control the galaxy. And then a stray thought entered his mind. We'll help you. He remembered the tone. He'd heard it only once before, and recently. The crystal he'd touched. It was close. Just in the wardrobe alongside. Getting up, he opened the wardrobe door, and below some of his loose clothes was the battered box. I know you don't like it, but it said it could help, Cal said as he placed the box on the bed and opened the lid. Orbis peered close to see the contents, saying nothing, while Cal reached a hand out and touched the closest crystal. Nothing happened. No red color, nothing. Then as he moved his hand toward the second crystal, the surface of that black crystal began to shimmer with hues of red, and he heard Orbis's sudden intake of breath. Then as he touched its surface, the whole crystal radiated dark red, and inside his mind was, hold me over your sick friend. It's telling me to hold this crystal over the professor, Cal said. Try it, lad. Careful but. Orbis followed Cal toward the medic room, 4 women still looking over the unmoving man. Give him space to work, Orbis said. He needs to get close to the professor. As the women saw the glowing crystal, they quickly pressed back, but still looking, now at the crystal as Cal held it over the professor's body and slowly moved it from toes up to the man's head, then back again. Do you need to point it? Orbis asked. Cal heard the answer in his head before he said, no, and he continued tracing the body with the crystal. Around the sides, then over the top. All the time, the automedic was protesting. Beeps and red flashing lights, but the screen was showing less red and yellow patches on the patient's image as though the problem was being healed. He's getting better, Kira called, and everyone turned to watch the screen. His legs are clean now, Kira added. Cal concentrated on the area that was still indicating difficulties until there was nothing left to treat. Done, the voice in his head said, and Cal went back to the control room and replaced the crystal in its box, Then he hid it where it had been, all the time Orbis watching. Never seen anything like that, Orbis said when the job was done. Maybe best no one knows either. You need to come quick. It sounded like one of the twins yelling, and the men came to see Professor Frank looking up at them. Back from the dead I see, Orbis said loudly. Us old rogues are hard to kill off. The professor is not a rogue, Kyra said sharply. But they certainly wanted to kill me off, he said weakly. You sure? Mia said. Did your medic try to fix me? His voice soft and indistinct. Said nothing was possible. A 6 is the code. I saw an A6 code, Kira said. It didn't say what it was though. Euthanasia. Imperial killing of old people and those they don't like. How did you stop them? He used a Ito crystal, Kira said, pointing to Cal. It cleared it up quickly. Never seen anything like it, Orbis said. You need to get me out of here, but there are some things in my room. We'll get them, Orbis said. I'll need to show you. Well, get up off this bed and we'll put you back in that wheeled chariot and take you right into your room while the others will make this ship ready to fly away. We'll cover him with that rug and he can pretend to be real sick, Kyra said. Before we do that, how about we remove the professor's implant, Cal said. Don't want people to know he survived, do we? A job for Mia. Then Professor Frank was bundled up in the wheelchair, and Orbis and Lou was pushing him out the ramp and toward the university buildings, leaving Cal and the women to tidy and prepare the ship to travel. The professor was fit enough to be carrying a large bag when the three made their way back to the ship, and once everyone was through the main hatch, Cal called, "Everyone prepare for blastoff. Let's get into orbit and then we can all discuss things while the professor recovers some more." Mia's liftoff was super smooth, and she kept a gentle ascent until she stopped in a high parking orbit. Then getting out of her pilot couch, she came to where the professor was sitting and began fussing over him. "I'm fine," he said. "Getting better by the minute." "Can we talk about what really happened?" Cal said. "I've been thinking as we flew." "So have I," Professor Frank said, his voice sounded tired. "Not every day you recover from your own death. Now there's two of us," Orbis said. "And now you get to enjoy a whole new life, like me." "Tell me again what happened," Cal asked. "The Imperial people tried to kill him," Kyra said quickly. "They didn't like that he knew secret things about ships," Kira added. "It's simpler than that, I think," the professor said. "Thinking back, it sort of makes sense. I never heard any messages from other older faculty members that retired. They all had plans for what they would do, always telling everyone about the trips they were going to go on and the planets they were going to fish, but once they taught their last class, nothing. We always thought they were so happy to be away, none of us really tried to find them. That was a mistake. The university were getting rid of their old professors so they won't go and teach at other places." Mia said. "It's more than that. You look around anywhere. How many old people do you see?" "Mr. Slee," Kira said. "He's old," Kyra added. "He's still working, so he's still useful. It's only those who have stopped working. Once you stop being useful to the regime, you cease to exist. Some of us older faculty used to whisper that we thought there was some sort of unofficial euthanasia being practiced. There were whispers about a code in the medics for it, but nothing was ever certain. I found there are codes for implants, and there was mention of a 6 for euthanasia, so I knew it was possible." The room was silent, so the professor continued. "I hadn't taught my last class when I began feeling ill. Only a little, but over a couple of days, things got worse. The university nurse looked at me and even put me on their automedic. I watched very carefully, but the only code was a 1. "Implant," Kira said. "Implant. And I think that is where it came from. What if the implant is triggered to release a stored micromachine into my blood? A replicating micromachine that would slowly grow until it took over my whole body. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. Constant replicatio until my entire system was filled with it. Maybe it would happen over many days. A week even. The stronger you were, the longer it would take to do its job. And you're so strong, Kira said. It makes perfect sense, Kira added. The regime releasing that poison to stop you going with us. It was simpler than that. It wasn't a plan by the regime. There wasn't someone sitting before a desk in their central data center and studying my life. With all the millions of planets and even more billions of citizens, that was just too much to expect. To my thinking, it would be someone local. Maybe the principal. He would decide he didn't like me, and he would either send the report to the Imperial Data Center, or maybe even press the button himself. One command and my implant releases my death. Clean, and no one knowing what really happened. More silence, broken by Mia. I want my implant out now. The twins can help me. He should do it, Kira said, pointing to Cal. We're not allowed to feel your bottom like he can. Both girls giggling. I'll let you feel Mia's bottom, Cal said. I know you girls will do a great job. And then maybe she can do yours too. Movement while the three made for the automedic. The job shouldn't take long. Mia was getting better at the surgery. So we got you just in the nick of time, Cal said to the professor. Sorry we weren't earlier. I'm not complaining, and maybe you needed that item to find the cure. Show him, Orbis said to Cal. I don't like it, but it saved you. Cal opened his wardrobe and brought out the box, the others close ready to see as he opened the lid. Beautiful, Professor Frank said. How did you know to use it? The stone told him, Orbis said. Ever heard of that? Is it talking now? Professor Frank asked. Cal shook his head. Touch it and show, Orbis said, and Cal reached his hand and came close to each crystal in turn, but none showed any red coloratio. I'm getting nothing, Cal said, but that wasn't quite correct. Nothing now, the crystal was whispering inside his head. Much more when the time is right. Some people say these crystals are the memory crystals of an ancient race that once filled this galaxy, the professor said. I heard other whispers, Orbis said softly. Stories of other alien races using them to control anyone here that touched them. Cal felt a chill through his whole body. I feel either explanation is possible. I suppose it can't be too bad. At least it kept me alive. Cal wanted to add, but for what purpose, but he kept silent. I'm glad it worked out, Orbis said. Life wouldn't be the same without you, old friend. When the women returned, Mia was ready for work. Do you all have enough enthusiasm to pick up another van on the way? They did, so it was an even longer trip than expected back to their base on Grand Bazaar, and in all that travel, no one mentioned aloud about the crystals again. Thanks for reading my little story. I certainly hope you enjoyed it. In the next book, Molecular Constructor, Cal learns the real secret behind the Imperial regime's power. The blueprint, that if followed, would allow him to replicate their success and create an empire of his own to rival the Imperial Empire. Or should he search deeper and try to find who, or what, provided that blueprint in the first place? The Sea Stallion Book 2. The Base at Grand Bazaar. A Space Adventure. By Mystic Alchemist. Copyright 2024 Mystic Alchemist. All rights reserved. Written in Australian English. This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places and incidents are either a product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual people living or dead, events or locales is purely coincidental. Cover and text written and assembled by hand without use of artificial intelligence.